so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:05 on Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, safety, driving their success. GS has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of the team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca and click Ready to Work, or just visit their page at Indeed.ca with the Next Up Person program at GS Construction. It's not just a job, it is a career. Just Nielson and Gage are with you today, although I'm sure Matt Kassian is watching from Mexico.
Probably.
Hernan, jeez. Hear Hernan's laugh back there?
I missed that laugh. We used to have that. We used to hear that laugh so much in Old Little Brick back in the day. It's great.
That came out of nowhere. I'm glad you found that joke amusing, Hernan. That's a nice way to start the day. Speaking of ways to start the day, man, you came in with a bang today.
No, I came in hot.
Man, I'm sitting here getting ready to do lock shop, and I hear loud music, and I was like, what is going on? And then Gager walks around the corner with a speaker playing We Are the Champions and the F1 Fantasy Trophy, which is of significant size. You probably show that off in EST Afternoons today. You were very happy to be both constructors and individual driver champion this year.
It was just an amazing season for me, Dusty. And, you know, there was a little bit of, there was a revenge factor in there. You know, premature Cass is how I refer to him now, crowing from the rooftops the beginning 2 weeks, thinking he was just going to run away with this season, and he had all his stats and things. For a guy that doesn't like analytics, he sure was spitting them out a lot about his F1 teams. But I was just telling Hernan before, not unlike Lewis Hamilton on the last lap in Abu Dhabi, I reeled him in just like he did with George Russell, and finished 1-2. Just an amazing. That's very impressive. Congratulations,
Thank
Major.
You. Yeah, no. So your name's on that trophy, and then Tony Brar was on it last year.
Tony came out of nowhere. He's the Nico Rosberg, because he came in, won, and poof, Kaiser Soze that thing, and
gone again.
He's gone.
So now it's now I think you're in the early stages of a dynasty here.
You have to say so.
Yeah.
I mean, I put a lot of work into it. There's a
you
lot
do,
of,
don't you?
Yeah. There's, and you know, everyone gives me not a hard time, but they're kind of, you know, there's a peculiar look on their faces when I'm watching Free Practice 2, I've kind of dialed in my method of how I realize who's going to do well that weekend. Granted, it doesn't always work, but it is beneficial to watch those practices.
Yeah, you are. I do find something very. I think it's nice. Like, you definitely spend more time on it than all of us, but you also very much take pride in winning it, and I like that about you, Gager.
Well, it was a disappointment last year. It was awful to see Tony Brar.
Yeah, that sucks.
Win that thing, because Phony Tony is how I refer to him. And I know you're listening.
Phony Tony Brar. Hey Trev, did I print off my Two Guys prep? Is it sitting on the printer there? Do you see? Oh man, Zacticum, like lightning, comes out of nowhere. Thank you, Zach. What an effort by Zacticum. Holy smokes, buddy. Well done.
Wow.
That was very quick. Very quick. We're going to get to that as we work our way through the show today. If you have any comments, you can hit us up in the nasty chat, of course. You can hammer the thumbs up for us there, or you can text us at 780-218-9999.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, you've got something too?
Well, no, I just want to make sure that I can let the listeners know
what's coming up.
What comes up. At
Well, what is coming up on you? We'll do it again later. But what's coming up today?
Today's Heat and Smoke, where Hearn and I go back and forth a little bit. Eric, you didn't spell this name right, though. Eric Endrinson, Lightning, and Erlinson.
Used to have him on 1260 all the time back in the day.
Yeah, so Lightning's insider. AJ Hafele from the Avalanche is going to join us. Hafele, sorry.
Good thing Hernandez.
Yeah, we need these phonetically out here at 2:20, and then we're just going to set up Reed's show for later on.
Okay, excellent. Well, that sounds like real nice day right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. It is game day, of course. The GCL Diesel pregame show starting at 6 o'clock tonight, right here. And you two guys, Hernan and Gager, will be with Tommy Gazzola tonight.
I know.
Setting up the Oilers and the Lightning.
I might have to, I don't know what's, it's pretty nasty out there, hey? So might have to wait a little bit to get home. I don't know. Might have to stick with Hernan.
Is it still snowing?
It's really snowing, yeah.
You might need to batten down the hatch here at the studio, buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe we all stay here today. It'd be a lot of fun. I got Christmas concert tonight.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, big. So tonight is Elizabeth's Christmas concert. Tomorrow night is Marshall's Christmas concert.
Okay.
So it's best back-to-back night of the year. You have back-to-back nights at the school, the Christmas concerts. Elizabeth found out today that she's actually reading the prayer for like the entire. Wow. It's a big deal. I FaceTimed Marshall. He was at home today. His ears are a little stuffed up. He's like, I got to stay home today and play video games. I was like, I don't care. So anyway, he goes, Daddy, Elizabeth's saying the prayer at her concert tonight. He was very fired up for her. So now I'm nervous.
Oh, really?
Well, at the concert, she'd just be one of 200 kids sitting there singing. Now she's going to have to step up in front of like all the parents and all of the grade 1, 2s, and 3s.
It's in the gymnasium, though,
It's in the gym, yeah. It's in the gym. Yeah. One year we did it in the church like 2 or 3 years ago. And that was a one-nighter. You could fit way more people in. And I think I probably preferred that. But
did you?
Well, it's just the gym's not that big. You're not allowed to bring a sibling, so we have to find somebody to look after kids back-to-back nights, and that's not ideal. But Christmas concert tonight, so...
Yeah, I mean, I've been long gone from Christmas concerts for a while now, but I only found them enjoyable for like a year because the principal at my school, the Peacock, he had to flaunt, and we had to all go downtown to the Wind Spear.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or there was one at the Wind Spear, and then there's one. What's the one at the Citadel on U of A campus? He rented this thing out, and
for a school Christmas concert,
dude.
Like at the school by your house?
By my house.
That's right. You're like, it's in your yard.
Yeah. So he rented this thing out, and we had to get wherever we were going and sit through there. And look, most Christmas concerts, the best parts, there's 2 parts that are any good of any Christmas concert. One is your kid, and the other is the kindergarten kids.
Yeah, they're
so
cute.
That's it. Everyone else's kid, you could care less, right? So you're sitting through, it's not the best. And plus, I want to see elves. I want to see, a story, maybe Santa, some reindeer. That's
what they did at the church. It was like a story.
Yeah.
Now it's just a few songs, and that's kind of it.
They didn't even have the good songs. Like I want some jingle bells and things like that. And it wasn't a great experience for me. Plus, I had to fit the bill to go buy seats for this thing.
Pay for your own.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So, and then I was completely jealous because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they were at the other school. I believe it was Earl Buxton. They just had 2 showings a day. One for the, for
school and afternoon. Yeah.
If there was a spouse or was able to get there, and then if someone worked, couldn't get away, they'd have one in the evening. So boom, boom. In the gymnasium, get it done, watch it, done. And the kids were pumped because they could do 2 shows, during the day. It was a completely botched situation. I heard people complaining about the ticket prices because at Christmas time, like there's one family with like 8 kids and she's got to buy all these seats.
That's ridiculous.
And it's ridiculous. So no,
it must have got you prepared though for sitting through other kids' things for your daughter's dance, right?
Well, that's a little bit different. There's good dance that I'm watching.
Okay.
Now. So there's some stuff that I could
like because last year we did Elizabeth's first like year-end sort of recital thing.
Oh, that's long.
And she was like in the 17th group.
Oh,
and I was like, at the time I was like, oh my God.
I've gotten to the point where I say if I hear one of the group numbers is really good, I'll go watch that one. But mostly I'm there for my daughter, her solos, and I'll go see some of her friends too.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sitting there all the way through it. But
Bronco Nick over in the nasty chat says, Gage, you mean they don't sing "Baby It's Cold Outside" anymore? Have you seen that? Have you seen that comedy bit that guy does?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
That's
where
really
he reads
funny.
the lyrics
He reads the-
to that
yeah.
and then to WAP.
Yeah,
and you just
yeah,
like
he compares the two.
Yeah, this is really bad compared to that. And he's just a funny straight man.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's a straight man. I've seen that pop up on TikTok a few times, and I watch it every single time because it is
that
hilarious.
one got banned, and then that was the top song of the
year. It was just like, we're not allowed to sing this one anymore, but here are the lyrics to WAP, and you're just like, oh my god, this guy makes a pretty valid point. Like that was pretty good. All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. This is interesting. Joel says they should do a continuing story with grade 1 does the first part and then grade 2 does the second part and things like that.
Oh yeah. We had some teachers were a little bit out of their realm of expertise with their artistic view of what they thought these kids could do, and it was tough. It was really tough.
Oilers and Lightning tonight. What do you expect from Tampa? I've got some interesting questions about Tampa, but
Yeah.
like I look at Tampa and I'm trying to figure out, are they in like a reload stage? Are they a group of champions who are slowly fading out? Or do they have some guys that can push them back up to maybe take another run? Like, where do you think they are are they a fading former champion? Are you still viewing them as, a moderate contender? I don't know where Tampa is right now.
Again, like I said this morning, I think just with the fall of the Rangers, and who knows where they'll be at the end of the year. I think they'll still make the playoffs, but I think Tampa's in that kind of that holding pattern where let's see where we're at the closer to the end of the year or the trade deadline, and if it looks like we can really take a run at it. All systems go, but it seems like they're just so deep with that skill and talent that they have, and you have to consider them a favorite just because there's a lot of experience on that team. They've got some great players, but I think if I was the GM, it's constant reevaluation of my team. And okay, looking at where we are, can we go for it this year? Can we win it this year? And then possibly wherever those deficiencies lie, that's where you try to retool maybe. But if it doesn't look like you can take a run of it, then you try to maybe go a little bit younger and try to replace these guys because you got to say that the culture
Is
they've
that
built,
an example of like Stamkos out Gensel in? And is that kind of what they're
I think so.
trying
But
to
Gensel's
do
not
there?
young either.
No, he's not young. I mean, he's not as old as
Oldest.
Stamkos, so I don't think.
I was that's what I wanted to ask today. Like, so does that just make you feel vindicated that you didn't give Steven Stamkos $8 million a year for 5 years and then he goes somewhere else and basically keeps tripping over his own skates here?
I think Tampa comes out looking pretty decent in
Yeah.
that decision, which are tough decisions to make. And some organizations don't do it and they hang on too long and they love these guys, but it just fades away and then you get nothing for them in the end. Which, I mean, they didn't get anything for him in the end, but they decided to use that money to get Gensel.
Yeah. But wouldn't you, I mean, I know Sidney Crosby is an anomaly here with his 8-7. But if you're Steven Stamkos, you've made over $100 million. You estimated earnings over $100 million. You love Tampa. You've been there your whole career, right? You know,
Saying, suck it up. You got enough money.
There's not a lot of runway left in your career. You might.
Did you think he was looking at Nashville going, oh, we can contend there too?
Yeah,
Because I think a lot of people with the addition of him and Marchessault, you're thinking, oh yeah, Nashville, like they got a great goalie. They've got that elite defenseman. You add in a couple of veterans who've won Stanley Cups. I think they were. I mean, Nashville's the biggest. Nashville or New York or the Rangers.
now-
Like who? I think Nashville prolonged throughout the season has been the biggest disappointment in the National Hockey League this year.
So. Yeah.
The Rangers are giving them a run for their money right now. But that might have been what he was looking at, going, wait a second, they're going to pay me more, and I can still be on a contender?
It's hard to say no to that,
yeah.
But
and when you feel slighted by an organization that you've been with for a long time.
Well, I mean, you don't get to the level of Steven Stamkos without, some self-belief that he can still make a huge difference to a team. But I to tell you the truth, Dusty, I was really surprised that he wouldn't have looked to take a little bit less to stay in Tampa and try to get another one while providing a little bit of cap relief for your GM to go out and look for other areas to bolster your lineup, right? And the Nashville thing, I think you and I and Cass were talking about it in the summer, going, oh my gosh, the way the West looks right now is possibly a Predators Oilers Western Conference final with the moves that they made. At that time, I thought the second best moves of the summer was from Nashville getting Marchessault, getting Stamkos.
All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. It is the Oilers and the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. Tampa Bay won both games against Edmonton last year by scores of 6-4 and 7-4. Prior to that, Edmonton had won the year before 5-3 and 3-2. Tampa rolls in their last 10 wins against New Jersey and Pittsburgh, losses to Columbus and Dallas. They beat Colorado. They lost to Washington. They beat Nashville. They lost to Toronto. And then they spanked the Sharks 8-1. Outshot San Jose 35-21 in that game. And then beat the Vancouver Canucks to kick off this roadie. Outshot them 33-25 in that game. The Edmonton Oilers, on the other hand, have been playing some pretty good hockey as of late. They've won 5 of their last 6. 4-2 over St. Louis, 6-3 over Columbus. Lost to Vegas 1-0 despite playing very well. Aiden Hill was great in that game. Beat Colorado 4-1. In overtime over Utah 4-3. Tripled up the Rangers 6-2. Bad loss to Minnesota, 5-3. That score closer than the game actually was. Beat Ottawa and then had those 2 losses to Montreal and Toronto in their last 10. But if you look at this stretch of the last 6 games here, Gager, score 6 against the Rangers, 4 against Utah, 4 against Colorado. Played well, had 28 shots on Vegas. Could not find a way to score, lose that one 1-0. Then score 6 against Columbus, score 4 against St. Louis. I mean, this is the offensive team. Even without some pieces or some players, without Arvidsson, without Nuge. I know he's been getting going a little bit lately, but let's be honest, he's not where you need him to be. Hyman's been nice since his return, but this is the offense that we expected from this team at the beginning of the season, right?
Well, they're going to need it tonight because you had mentioned the Lightning are scoring, right? They're 3.9 goals per game, where Edmonton has come up to 3 a game now. The power play is better. I mean, in all areas, essentially, except for shots per game, the Tampa Bay Lightning are ahead of the Edmonton Oilers, right? So, and they got a really good lineup. When you look at these players, like they're top guys, like Kucherov, Point, Gensel.
That
Hagen,
line can play with
Chiarelli.
any line in the league.
Yeah,
it's just they can't that line.
And I think the game here last year, if I'm not mistaken, Kucherov was just slick coming, and he somehow got through everyone and looked like McDavid and scored. So he's one of the only guy I think that is comparable with his passing ability.
How frustrating do you think it is to play against Kucherov because he doesn't kill you with speed, right? Like he I mean, he's not slow, but he's not McDavid fast, but he still kills you. So you're going, well, how come we can't stop this guy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's slight too, right? But very shifty. He's such a, I mean, like you said, he's not slow, but he's not lightning fast. But he's the type of guy that just kills you with his brain. Yeah. He thinks the game.
Yeah, and those ones got to be extremely frustrating because he's just straight up smarter than you.
Yeah.
That's got to hurt.
Yeah.
So that's something to watch for tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We were talking about it this morning on our show about Tampa rolling in here with a couple of championships for this group, right? Hedman, Vasilevsky, Kucherov, Point. Stamkos is no longer around, but these guys have multiple Stanley Cups. And we were asking people this morning if the Edmonton Oilers in the Connor McDavid era only win one Stanley Cup, will you, I mean, it's a Stanley Cup, but will you be somewhat disappointed that they got one, Tampa got two, Chicago got three, Sid and the Penguins got three? Like, it sounds, for an organization that hasn't won one in a long time, and for a group of players that haven't won one, it sounds almost conceited of us here in Edmonton to be like, will one be enough? But I think it's an interesting conversation with a team in town that went back-to-back with an elite skilled core like the Oilers have. Gager, how will you view it if, and we're just hoping they get one.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. And then there's a whole nother conversation. But if they just get one, will you look back on it and go, good enough? Not good enough.
Okay, if you take McDavid out of the picture and they just won one, I think that's a massive accomplishment. Just because of what McDavid's doing and the comparison to all the other greats of the NHL, they all have multiple wins, multiple Stanley Cups. So that's kind of how his career will be judged at the end of it. But there's so much parity in this league. That's why hockey, like, I find the NHL just fascinating with how good it is. It's in such a good place where, I mean, you'd mentioned, look at the Rangers, like the Chicago Blackhawks beat the New York Rangers the other day.
Yeah.
Like, it's just any team can beat another team any given night. And I mean, my Coolbet account is proof of that. But it's, I think the fact that even if you just win one, I think that's enough, man.
When you look back on the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Right, like Ovi got one. Do we view Ovechkin's career a failure?
Not even.
Because he only got one Stanley. Now, and I love Ovi, and I think he's the greatest goal scorer of all time. But when you're looking at all-time greats, Connor McDavid will be in that tier, or should end up being in that tier with Wayne and Mario, and maybe if you want to put Bobby, or like he's in that one. And then to me, Crosby and Ovechkin and Yager and those other guys are in sort of that next tier. So maybe my expectations for McDavid are a little bit different than Ovi, but I don't look at the Washington Capitals in the Ovi era and go, wow, disappointment. I do look at it and go, you had some pretty good teams in like 2010, 2000 that didn't get it done. And it's I mean, it's not what it could have been, maybe. Yeah. You know, like,
I mean, if
ran into Euro Halak the one year. Remember Halak stole that series?
It was crazy what they had to go through. Because I think if you even were to ask Ovi, I think it was 2 years prior that they were a much better team than the team that actually won the Stanley Cup. They were way more talented, and just they got to the playoffs and somehow just could not get it done. But I don't think you look at Ovi now. From him winning a cup, I look at him at a much higher regard. I probably shouldn't, but I do. And the partying afterwards and swimming in fountains doesn't hurt.
Legendary. I mean, that guy had been waiting 14 years to do something like that.
I mean, we should. What player would you like to see win maybe another Stanley Cup or a cup for the first time? Part of me says, with the way that the Capitals are playing too, which is amazing, seeing Ovi raise it again and have fun, I'm all here for it.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. I knew this was going to be an interesting conversation. Lots of things rolling in on the chat. Troll has an interesting one in the inbox here. McDavid could never win a cup, and he is still a Mount Rushmore top 4 guy of all time, in my opinion. And that's a very interesting one.
Yeah.
I mean, Stanley Cup championships on an individual's legacy means more from sport to sport. Like it's different, right? The NBA guys can impact a championship, I think, more than in the National Hockey League, just as one guy. So I see some other sports where, rings are used as a major thing. I don't know if I've ever seen that in the National Hockey League conversation. It's not like, Wayne's Wayne, so maybe, but like, he lost in a Stanley Cup final. Like, is that the end of the world because he didn't win everyone? He was like, I don't know if that's the case. But when you're looking at all-time greats, I mean, if all the guys we've been talking about have 2 cups, not having a cup will always be the conversation of, yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore, but he never won a cup. You don't want that as like the asterisk or caveat on your greatest of all time discussion.
I'm trying to make comparisons of other professional athletes, and one that just pops into my mind. If McDavid goes through the rest of his career without winning a Stanley Cup, in my mind, he becomes Barry Sanders. Just like probably the greatest running back ever.
It hurts me. You're right. He was a great. We wasted him.
Yeah.
We also wasted Calvin Johnson.
Yeah. Megatron, kind of the same.
Yeah.
But if he wins one, then, and using the same comparison, he probably becomes Emmett Smith. Like just looks at as high regard as a guy that won. But
he's been closer than the guy that I'm going to compare him to. But I'm looking at Mike Trout.
Right.
And Mike Trout was, from a WAR perspective, the best player in baseball for a long, long time. And the Angels just completely pissed away his entire career, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Like, if there's one guy that I look back on in their career and be like, who should have asked for a trade? Mike Trout.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that's still puzzling to me. And one of the greatest sporting moments was that last summer before with the World Championships of baseball when him and Ohtani mano a mano. You just don't get that in any other sport, and it was kind of cool to see Trout on a massive stage. But look, they ruined this guy. Like it is terrible because Trout should be way up there. So his stats and what he's done is mind-boggling, and then he just rotting away in California.
780-218-9999. Lots of text messages on this conversation, including this one from George and Morgan, who I love them texting in together. I guess that's they share a phone. This one says, guys, I can't see how much people harp on the fact that the Stanley Cup is a team trophy and you require the entire team to contribute, but also flip around and say it's been disappointing if they only win one, or that how many years they've been failures because we have McDavid and Draisaitl and they should have something right now. No. The conversation, like, if Connor McDavid doesn't win a Stanley Cup, the disappointment and blame will fall on management in Edmonton over his entire career, because that dude should win a Stanley Cup. Like, you almost have to negatively impact him for him not to deliver a championship at some point.
So does Holland go down as the best GM over if he doesn't win one?
Because he got him to a cup final?
Got him to the Game 7 with personnel that he put in there. Like, Stan Bowman's got some big shoes to fill. Like, he has to get back to the final.
Yeah.
Within,
if not this year, within the next 3 years, max.
I was going to say 2. I'm going to stick at 2. If they're not back in a final in these next 2 years, that's a failure on management's part, especially if the cap goes up like they say over the next 2 years and they can't get the proper personnel to challenge.
Trevor and Airdrie is asking on that conversation of even if he doesn't win a cup, he would still be on the Mount Rushmore. Trevor and Airdrie says, here's a question for you guys. How many all-time greats in hockey have not won a cup?
Well, the first one that jumps is Jumbo Joe. He was such a dominant force for so many years.
Is the best player to not win a cup Marcel Dion?
You'd have to.
I mean, I think
there's probably a handful of those guys.
I'm trying to think. Like
Peter Stastny.
Yeah, like these are great players.
Yeah,
like
great players go their careers and not win Stanley Cups. Like, I don't like when I hear he deserves a Stanley Cup. No one deserves it. The cup is earned, and it takes. You can't win it with just one player. It takes that's why it's a very difficult trophy to win. Not like other sports where you can have certain personnel and you're going to challenge every time. The hockey is completely different. And Jeremy Roenick, great player, didn't win a cup. And then you got some guys that probably didn't deserve to win too.
Oh, there's some of those guys too. So I just did a quick Google search. Best players in NHL history to not win the Stanley Cup. I don't know if this is in any order or this is just 10. But Marcel Dion, we mentioned 1,771 points. He's 6th all time in points.
Crazy.
And you know what? But I think if he had a cup, he'd be higher up on the all-time rankings.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Outside of that, I mean, and McDavid, I personally believe McDavid's on a different level than even Dion.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then everybody better than them have won cups. They wink like, so the other names on here are Jerome McGinley, Adam Oates, Matt Sundin, Dale Howardchuk, Mike Gartner, played forever, didn't get one. Roberto Luongo, Peter Stastny, you mentioned. They got Pierre Turgeon on here. Gilbert Perreault, or Gilbert Perreault, sorry. Like McDavid is significantly better than everybody on that list.
I'd put Carey Price in there too. One of the best goalies ever, I think. I mean, there'll be some. It'll be very difficult if he doesn't win one. That would be tough, especially when you see what that series showed and how passionate he is to get this thing done. Like, part of me wants to see him get it from Bettman, and finally see him kind of smile.
Anybody you would put into the top 10 or 15 time conversation has a Stanley Cup. And you know what? Connor McDavid doesn't want to be the one dude who deserves to be in that conversation because he's going to put up between 1,800 and 2,100 points in his career. And you're looking at all of the all-time greats, and there's one guy that doesn't have a cup in that mix. He's got to get one. I mean, he has to.
You know what? I hope he does get it done, because I don't like watching guys at the end of their careers chase it. Like Ryan Smith comes to mind, just because I think he could have stayed in LA one more year, I believe, but then came back to Edmonton, and then LA goes on to win their first cup. And it was Jerome McGinley, you mentioned, one of the greatest not to win. With better video replay, he probably does have a cup right now. But it was to see him go from team to team to team chasing
trying to get one.
It's just in different jerseys every year. I'm like, ugh, that sucks. He should have. In a perfect world, or maybe in an alternate universe, Jerome McGinley won the cup with the team that he should have won the cup with. And I know this hurts a lot of Edmonton fans, but the Calgary Flames.
780-218-9999. Pat in the county says Ray Bourque was the worst one to chase it. He got it done in 1 year.
But he got it done.
I mean, he picked wisely. Yeah. Or however they got that done.
But that's okay. I mean,
still seemed weird seeing them hand the cup to Ray Bourque in a Colorado Avalanche jersey.
It was a little odd, but what an all-star team that was.
Yeah, they were stacked. Pre-salary cap, just absolutely load that thing up. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. Lots of comments over on the Nasty Chat. There's lots of names of other great players who didn't get in there. Matt Sundin, Thornton, Iggy, Dion. This is all great, but we're talking about Connor McDavid being on that offensive plane of Mario and Wayne. He's the next closest thing we see there. That separates him from all those guys. Got to deliver a cup, and if they don't, then it is by far just the worst 20-year management period of all time if you don't get this guy.
No, I mean, we said it about last game, and you mentioned Mario and Gretz. Those guys, they made the NHL look like the brick tournament, and they were the best player in it on a consistent basis. And some of those players that you mentioned, there were times when they were just heads and shoulders above everyone else. But Connor, you see fear in D-men. How many D-men are so good skaters that they can just back up and take a guy, right? You see D-men look like kids at the brick, turn around, start skating as fast as they can, and try to pivot so they can
That's how I play on Friday afternoons. When I'm playing defense, I'm like,
gotta go.
Turn around.
And then he's just, we're numb to it, I think, a little bit with his brilliance. Just watch. I mean, probably the closest gaining the zone. Just gaining the zone. Watching Connor do it, he does it at will, and you watch anyone else do it, and they get stood up.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
It's hard to do.
He gains the zone like a brick kid.
He gains the zone like it's a video game. Mm-hmm. It's such a skill that's not talked about. I wonder if there's even a stat for that, zone entries per player, because he'd be off the charts with that stat.
Gord asked an interesting question. I want to get to that. I also want to get to. We were asked today, did my chair just go down a bit? I feel like it went down a bit.
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, Gord says, Dusty, being that they made the finals and lost in Game 7 last year, is that more management fault or team/player fault? Genuine question. I'm all for blaming management, but they were there. What do you think about that, Gage? I mean, Ken Holland built a team that got to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final.
And we don't know
my chair definitely went down.
And we don't know if what would happen this year if Ken Holland was still had the reins. You know, like he was basically it was a lame duck GM situation for Ken Holland at that point. And he got them there with what he had. Now it's Stan Bowman. If he doesn't get back to the Stanley Cup final, I would say that is that's a failure. That's a failure to management to not provide two of the best players in the game with the opportunity to go win the Stanley Cup. So I liked Ken Holland. I know it's a lot of people didn't, and I don't understand why. There were some great moves, some of the best moves I would say over a couple decades with the Edmonton Oilers of the people he brought in. Yes, the Jack Campbell thing didn't work out, but I thought he was really good with what he did. I liked his messaging throughout too. And maybe just partially because I met him a handful of times, and he's just a hockey guy. Like just talked about hockey.
That's all he wanted, eh?
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of nice sometimes. I like talking about other things sometimes too. Okay, so it was brought. A question came in today. I am down. I can't get this chair back up. A question came in today that was so we were talking about like what McDavid era are we in? And I said I think we're in McDavid 3.0. There was the early era when he came in, 18, 19. They make that little 2017 couple of rounds, and then they fall back. Then Ken Holland came in. I viewed that as like McDavid era 2.0. You get to the Stanley Cup final. You suffer that taste of bitter defeat. And now you're in McDavid post Game 7 finals loss, so it's McDavid era 3.0. And then I said, and this is probably prime McDavid era right here. Like this should be his best years. Then you'll get like probably still competing to be the best player in the world, but you know, he's 34, 35 type of thing. And then you get final few years, you'll see where he's at. But somebody asked today, they're like, well, if they don't win a cup in the next 5 years in McDavid era 3.0, is McDavid around for McDavid era 4.0? And it's interesting. And I know the guys, the GM meetings are on right now, and I think TSN's Hockey Insiders did something about, you know, could be free agent at the end of the year, and what's his future look like. But Gage, let's say he signs here, like Draisaitl long term, and they go back to another cup final, don't win, and then the roster gets whittled away a little bit, and you're kind of a middle of the pack team. If Connor McDavid stays in Edmonton for 5 or 6 more years and doesn't win a cup, do you think he rides it out the rest of the way, or do you think he goes, man, enough is enough? Let's go get one somewhere.
And yeah, unfortunately, I think he
personally, I wouldn't blame him. I don't think I'd blame him after giving you 15 years.
There's a reason why Crosby did sign 8.7 with the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's the fact that he has 3 cups and 2 Conn Smythes with the team. Like there's some loyalty there that's unbreakable, and he's a different guy. But yeah, I mean, of course, I think you're going to probably see if they don't if McDavid signs again, whatever.
Which I
think it looks like he is.
I'll be stunned if he doesn't.
I would be stunned.
What
too.
a twist on his good buddy Draisaitl.
Because man, but does that give us content every day to talk about?
If he leaves?
If he doesn't sign a deal.
Oh my God.
Next, what is it, July 1st? That's when it opens up. And he goes into next season without a contract and just keeps going throughout. We'll talk about it every single day. But if that happens, Dusty, let me ask you this. Does Edmonton trade him?
No chance. Like,
because then you're in a position of weakness. But I mean, what comes back?
No. I don't imagine a world where McDavid leaves Leon Draisaitl here by himself.
Yeah, that
I just don't see it. But I do imagine a world where if they don't win a cup in 5 to 6 years, and management and you're seeing it trend in the wrong direction. I do imagine a world where these guys are going to be like, man, we've given you 3/4 of our career.
Yeah.
So
Trade us.
I mean, deliver a cup here in the next 3 to 4 years, or you could be in trouble for the next 10.
What was your new contract negotiation on part of the player that you were talking about?
Yeah, like Connor McDavid should have a reverse no trade where when he says trade me, you trade him.
Yeah.
Like put that in the contract the other way.
Yeah.
And just say, man, it's your call.
Yeah.
When you want to go, you go.
Yeah.
And you just hope that you continue to build a team around him that's good enough that he'll never, ever, ever want to execute it.
Yeah, man.
I'd love to see a player, like the players, hold out for something like that.
Hit the trade button. Yeah, I'm
that's
done.
it. Hey, I'm going to activate my trade me now clause, and you have no choice. Like you can't be like, well, let's talk. No, sorry,
No,
he's
that's
executed
it.
the trade me now clause. That's it. Joel Ellison says Soto left Judge. Yeah, I mean, but they were together for how long? I mean, these guys are best friends. I don't
They're
see a
still in the
world with
same
that.
city. It's not like they won't see each other.
Yeah. I mean, they could still hang out. They could still play video games, I guess, together. So you've got that going for you. 780-218-9999. Let's get into hire it or fire it, of course, for GS Construction, where they are hiring now. They are hiring always. Become a great part of the team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction. If you have any questions for hire it or fire it, you can hit us up over on YouTube. Hammer the thumbs up if you're watching over there as well. And, of course, you can text us at 780-218-9999. Darnell Nurse has been the Oilers' best defenseman for the past 3 weeks. Hire it or fire it.
Fire it.
Who has?
Kulak.
Oh, wow. I was expecting an Ekholm or something.
No, it's Kulak.
Man, you love Kulak, eh?
I've been on this guy's train for years now. He is awesome. He stabilized this decor with his good play. He was arguably their best player at the beginning of the season, and it's just continued. He's on a career year path, and I think there's actually something. There's really good chemistry with him and Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, there is, isn't there?
Since Kulak's played with Nurse, Nurse has been better.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is true. He's like Markov back in the
Markov.
day. Remember Markov?
Yeah.
Got Surrey a deal, got Komisarek a huge deal.
Who's the other guy? Yeah, Komisarek.
There was another guy.
There was one more in
Not
there
Mark
too.
Streit. It was, who was it? It was Komisarek. It was Surrey. Markov is one of the more underrated defensemen, I think, in the history of the
unreal.
NHL.
Yeah.
He was so good, man. I love that guy.
There was one more
Who
too.
was the other defenseman that played with Markov?
Yeah.
That cashed in. He cashed in a pretty nice deal himself. Somebody must know that. Hit us up in the nasty chat or text us 780-218-9999. Komisarek got a ridiculous deal.
Didn't Subban play with him too?
Well, yeah, PK Subban played with him. PK Subban. I'm trying to think who the other one was. Anyway,
it,
somebody
Nadzo?
might come up with that. No, I don't think it was Mark Streit though.
But all those guys went and signed huge tickets.
Yeah, they got to play with Markov and then moved on from there. I mean, he did play with Subban quite a bit. V-Power says, was it Petrie? Gord says Ron Hainsey. Is it Hainsey?
Hainsey?
Hainsey.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Komisarek and Surrey for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. The New York Rangers have officially hit rock bottom. Hire it or fire it, or do you think it could get worse here?
Oh no, I think they're on the stairs going down to the basement. They're maybe a few steps from it, but not yet. I'm gonna fire it.
Yeah, I still think it could get a little bit bleaker.
Oh, Chris Drury, he's having a rough go here.
How long has he been the general manager of the Rangers?
2 years?
Is that it?
I think so.
Because he was handed a pretty nice franchise at the time.
Yeah, maybe Slats has to come out of retirement here and get back in there.
May 5th, 2021.
Okay.
So 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. I'm not sure we're saying that the Rangers have gotten better in those 3 years. I don't think, at least. Patrick Laine will score 40 for the Habs next year. Hired or fired?
Hire it.
He might score 40 this year.
Oh, he's a breath of fresh air in Montreal.
Isn't he?
Huh? My God.
I have to say, I've always loved Laine. You know this.
Yeah.
Laine, Puljujarvi, Aho, all those guys. And, growing up a Habs fan, there's always still a little... I love seeing Laine in a Habs uniform scoring goals. Like, it's kind of sucking me back into Montreal a little bit, I'm not going to lie.
I've said this, that they came out with that series, The Rebuild. I think it's a little premature to come out now, but
I think I saw it on TSN2 last night. I thought it was just on Crave, but
they're closer than you think. Like, I think if Laine's there at the beginning of the year, they probably start the year a little bit better. But man, that guy he can just score. Makes goalies look awful with that shot of his.
He's a modern, now completely different types of players is how they got it done. But like being a Habs fan as a child, like he's the modern day Stéphane Richer.
Oh, yeah.
That guy could finish.
Yeah.
Like they haven't had a lot of great goal scoring wingers legitimately since then. Like there was Zednik, there was Kovalev when they brought him in, different type. But Laine's just a straight up snipe show. And as Penner's Pancake says, he's like, they love him in Montreal. And they do, because they haven't had anybody like him in a long time. I know, look, Caulfield's a scorer too, but there's something different about Patrick Laine.
He reminds me of, he's somewhere in between with that right shot and that's why I'm drawing the similarities between Ovechkin and Stamkos, especially on the power play. Right? So I'm going to hire it.
All right. And how about this one? Creed tickets will sell out by end of the day Friday. Hire it or fire it.
Well, do we have a bus going from here?
I mean, we definitely should do a bus. You have to provide your own ticket, but we'll provide you a bus from here. That's a great idea, Gage, actually.
That would, I might be at the front of that one.
That would be good. I cannot wait. And it's on a Tuesday. I mean, they announced a Creed concert on a Tuesday for a concert that's on a Tuesday. This can't be a coincidence, man. There's no way.
Sometimes in life, Dusty, just like my F1 team, everything falls into place. And the fact that was announced this morning with Eric's, what's going on?
Did you see that when he was like,
oh yeah, I was like, blah. And for it to come on a Tuesday, the concert's on a Tuesday, and some of those, when you go to those old concerts, have you ever been to those old concerts?
Like a throwback?
Yeah. They're a lot of fun because everyone dusts off their old gear, crowbars their way into their old jeans and shirts. And
I've been to some of those older concerts of like bigger bands.
Yeah.
And Creed was big back then, but they haven't been big for the entire time, right? So this is going to be a little bit of a...
It'll be a little different, but everyone's going to know every word to every song.
Hold me now. I'm 6 feet. But it's just...
We might have to have a stat Wednesday.
I know. I was already said, Eric's like, because Eric's not a huge fan of Creed. He's like, I'll be here. I said, well, I might not be. I might not be here on the Wednesday after Creed. I mean, that's... I can't wait.
August 18th?
August 19th.
19th.
Tuesday, August 19th.
Right in the summer.
Creed. And April 21st, Nelly, Chingy, and Ja Rule.
Oh, my God.
Also at Rogers Place.
Really?
Yeah. 25th anniversary of Country Grammar, which was a huge Nelly album. That was one of the biggest albums of that 5-year stretch.
Yeah. I think I had a Band-Aid on my face for a few months there.
So did I. What happened was we went one year as the Disease Gang Green for Halloween, and the four of us kind of dressed up like gang members.
Yeah.
And I put the Band-Aid on my face for Halloween that year. That was a really creative costume, actually. When people got it, they're like, hey, that's actually pretty funny.
That's great.
Yeah. We didn't win any prizes or anything. But I did get to have a Band-Aid right on my cheek for the entire night, which a lot of people got. Waddy in Cloverdale says, hire it or fire it. The Nasty Bash should be postponed until Creed is here so they can play live at the St. Albert Rugby Club. Don't think we can get them. They're too big a deal now. We probably could have got them at the St. Albert Rugby Club for Nasty Bash 1.0 2 summers ago, but not anymore.
You mean they're not going to be in the hangout?
Well, we'll see. Who was I talking? Oh, Phrase was by. No, was it Phrase? Was Phrase? Well, Phrase was by today, but who was I talking about with it? Maybe it was Phrase. But I really would love to introduce those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I don't know who I have to talk to be like, do you mind if I slide on the stage and be like, we're here for Creed Tuesday Live?
Talk to Kevin Radomski.
Radomski would be the first in.
Yeah.
He'd be my first step.
Yeah.
And if I need to have meetings and do practice runs, I mean, whatever it takes. But I don't think there would be anybody in this city better qualified to introduce Creed than me. And I don't mean to be a dick about it, but I mean, we played them through some pretty dark times for them.
That's how I knew it was Tuesday for years.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And we get it today, which is exciting. All right, once again, what's coming up on EST Afternoons here, Gager?
Obviously, we'll get into tonight's game with the Oilers and Lightning. A little heat and smoke. Eric Enrinson from the Lightning Insider will discuss maybe a little Stamkos issues, and of course, probably John Cooper going off to the Four Nations. I'd like to get some.
I'd be curious to know if he expected Stamkos to fall off a bit more. Now, if they're surprised in Tampa that
they were tight too. Like that was
a pretty good group. Yeah, I would have thought. So, that'll be a fun show.
AJ Haffley from the Avalanche. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. And we'll just do what we do here, 1 to 3 EST Afternoons. Hernan and myself.
What exactly is it that you do here? This is from a show.
We provide 2 hours of solid entertainment.
And that's what we're doing here, entertainment. All right, that's coming up. EST Afternoons is on the way from 1 until 3. The Reed Wilkins Show from 3 until 6, and the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show right at 6 o'clock, taking you up to puck drop. So there's no reason to go anywhere else. We've got you covered up until the beginning of the game tonight. That's going to do it for Two Guys A Goalie. Brought to you by the Sandman and his crew over at GS Construction. For Joaquin Gage, I am Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian. I know you've been watching the entire time from down in Mexico. Thanks for caring about the show, my man.